guys. Taking a quick time here in between meetings and all to chat with you guys briefly. And I know you see the post, civil rights used against the uncivilized. Civil rights used against the uncivilized. Let me say that again. Civil rights used against the uncivilized. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of what's going on right now. There are things that are being passed, things that are being pushed, agendas that are being pushed. The head of the educational system, the education department, uh, literally pushed through a legal document in regards to Title VI, the Civil Rights Act, right? And why is that a concern? You know, the civil rights was a group of laws, to uh, supposedly help our people, because of the Jim Crow laws and those things that were in place to suppress our people, voting rights, rights that we did not have, even though, according to the legal system, we were supposed to be citizens, right? So when we start thinking about civil rights, right, that the whole thing, the face of the civil rights movement was our people. But when you start understanding what's happening around us, and this is why it's imperative for us to really get involved and really get an understanding of the politics around us. So a letter was sent, and it's addressing the Board of Education, the educational systems. It's supposed to be to combat, according to this letter, to combat um, anti-Semitism, to combat uh, opposition or discrimination to those that may be of multiple or multi-racial groups. And I find it interesting because, we saw the whole situation with Whoopi Goldberg play out about the comments that she made towards the Jewish community, and how the CEO of the ADL stated that the Jewish community is multiracial. And Whoopi Goldberg said that, in a nutshell, that the Germans, all of them were part of one race, which is the Caucasian race, the white race. And so uh, the CEO of the ADL said that Whoopi needs to get educated on what anti-Semitism is. And he said in his Twitter, on his Twitter account, in his tweet, that the Jewish community is multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural. So the question that we have to ask is, if that's the case, then how can the Jewish community be considered one race if they're consist of multiple races, right? If they're mixing by way of conversion. And I stated prior to me seeing this modification that's being attempted to be pushed, right, uh, through the legal system, right? I asked the question, if the Jewish community, by way of conversion, because you could, in order to become a Jew, right, a non-blood descendant of Israel can become a Jew by way of converting to Judaism, right? That word Jew, that's a whole nother thing that we could get into. That word was created in the 16th century, has agendas connected to it, and now that word is being used synonymous to the word Israel. So now, through the law of conversion, 1948, the law of return. So they define a Jew as someone who is born to a Jewish mother or practicing Judaism, right? And so I'm not going to go into the explanation of that. It's a lot to explain with that. So when you understand this, right? So to say that a Jew is a race, right? Now you're saying that anyone that's practicing Judaism, that according to their system has been, I guess, confirmed of their conversion, now they fall up under another race. Now they get to be classified as another race. See, there's a lot to unpack, and I question that. So now you're saying that a Christian can be considered, Christianity can be considered a race. Islam can be considered a race. And lo and behold, in the letter that was the memorandum or whatever that was pushed down from the Board of Education, the person that's over, not the Board of Education, the person that's over the whole educational system, pushed out a letter, right, about the civil rights, Title VI, to protect, basically to combat anti-Semitism, starting with the educational schools, as far as the school system. And it highlights, stating that among the communities, among the schools, anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. It's rising. And for me, family, and some of you guys, most of you guys that are watching, you guys have already taken statistics before, and you learned that statistics can be very manipulated. You can manipulate statistics to say anything you want it to say. You can manipulate the numbers to support anything you want to support. So my question, based upon, if we go off of what the ADL CEO has done and said in some of his interviews, of how he was pushing anti-Semitism, as far as giving examples. He gave an example on the Breakfast Club of the situation in Jersey City, saying that there were Hebrew Israelites, right, now pointing out, pushing this message that anti-Semitism is us, is people, dark-skinned people, melanated people, who are now understanding that that we are blood descendants of Israel, proving it through DNA and all kinds of other old literature that's proving, that states this. The Igbos being confirmed, the Limbas being confirmed, and other tribes being confirmed, the Yoruba, and other tribes that are being confirmed to be blood descendants of Israel. Now, because of what they're doing with the civil rights, now they're using the civil rights, and everyone that was listed in there they had in that letter had the Jewish listed first, Christian listed second, Arabs listed third, or Arabs, Islam listed third. They had Sikh religion listed fourth or fifth. They had Hinduism listed there, but you notice what they didn't have listed there. We weren't listed there. We weren't listed there. But you have all these groups, right, that have mixtures, multiracial groups listed there. But as far as our community, they had things in place, that the one drop rule, that if you had one drop of Negro blood inside your blood system running through your veins, you were still referred to as a black person, a Negro. All these other groups that can convert to a religion now can be protected by the civil rights. But when it comes to our community, we're the ones that are coming to the understanding of who we are. And now we're the ones that the civil rights is actually going against. The civil rights laws are now being used against the very people that needed it the most, per se. So it makes me start thinking, when you look at the word civil, in a nutshell, civil means not barbarous. In other words, you're not barbarians, right? When you study the Willie Lynch letter, the Willie Lynch letter focused on two people, right? Actually, three groups: the slave owners, the Negroes, but two groups within the Negroes: the civilized Negro and the uncivilized Negro. The uncivilized Negro is the one that fought against the system, that fought against slavery, fought against being enslaved, fought against being imprisoned, fought against the things that they were being forced to receive, to be subjected to. But the civilized one was the one that was broken, the ones that embraced the system. So the uncivilized Negro, they came up with a process of making that uncivilized Negro civilized by going at the men to make sure that the women cannot trust the men, cannot find safety or security through the men. So the uncivilized Negro, again, was the one that was buck broken. They had to go through this buck breaking system or process to get that Negro to be the way that they wanted them to be, civilized. Family, when you read your Bible, when you read some of these transliterations, pay attention to two words: heathen and pagan. When you do the etymology of the word pagan, right? When you look up that word pagan, it's going to tell you that in many cases, when you see the word pagan, it's referring to civilized cultures, civilized communities. And they list the Romans, they list the Greeks, right? They use that term, pagans, for civilized cultures, civilized groups that may be worshiping other gods or deities. But then it goes on to say, before as the heathen, it is referred to uncivilized African countries. Look it up. Look up, just type in your search, etymology, dictionary definition, or just type in pagan etymology. So when you look at your translations, pay attention to many of the translations. When you see countries that are melanated people, you'll see the word heathen. And when you see like the Greek, you'll see the word pagan in many of these translations. Look it up. That's a little breadcrumb right there. So here it is. You have, back in the 60s, we could go a little before that, when we start getting into the civil rights and all the players who are now benefiting from civil rights. When we look at, what's his name, Bayard Rustin, if you study the history of the civil rights, Bayard Rustin was supposed to be the face of the civil rights. He was supposed to be where Martin Luther King is, right? But because of his how can I put it, his strongholds, his homosexual strongholds, right? If you study him, he was caught, doing things with Caucasian men, caught, public, in cars, you name it. He got arrested for these things. So because of the issues, his homosexual issues, they decided, in a nutshell, to go with Martin Luther King to be the face of the civil rights movement. Just like when you study about Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was not the first person that refused to give up her seat on the bus. Her name was, what's her name? Colette COVID or whatever. We have some of her family members that actually attends our assembly. And they were surprised when I brought the information out about her. But because she didn't look a certain way, the civil rights movement went with Rosa Parks. And she actually worked for Rosa Parks at one of the NAACP satellites. Man, it's a lot of politics that came with the territory of the civil rights. So Rosa Parks was not the first one to give up her seat or refuse to give up her seat. It was a high school student who was like 14, 15 years old who refused to give up her seat and went through a lot. It was sad, how and what the civil rights movement, what they did to her and how they turned their backs on her. That's a whole nother discussion. But again, when you get to Bayard Rustin, he was a homosexual, and because of him being a homosexual, they chose not to go with him. They went with Martin Luther King. But he helped put a lot of the dialogues, the key words. He helped come up with the framework of, what you hear about the civil rights, the demands and all. But then when you look at it now, who is benefiting from it, right? The homosexual community is really benefiting from the civil rights. But then you have another community. You have another community that are now being, the civil rights is being used to protect a certain group of people that have proven and stated that in their own literature that they are converts, right? And these converts embrace what? Judaism. So now when you look at the civil rights movement, and I want to be clear, no matter how much many would say, not all of the Jewish community supported the civil rights. Not all, and I'm going to say not all of the Jewish community supported the civil rights, right? Because if you want to be true about it, we could, if we want to go into the history, look up the Jewish community being sponsors and financing the transatlantic world war, those slave ports and those slave ships. Look it up. The banking system at that time, collateral, giving out loans, and they look it up. Look up and I challenge you guys, do some research. Look up the flyers for slave auctions, and look at the names that are at the bottom of those flyers. You'll see names like Cohen, right? Levy, Matthew, Mateus. You look at those names that you see at the bottom of it, and look at the history. Do the research of those names, and you'll find out those auctioneers were from the Jewish community, right? Look at the Civil War. Look at who financed a lot of those soldiers, the Confederate. Look it up. You'll be surprised on who helped fund the Confederate. Look up and see some of the leaders of the KKK. I'm not saying all, some of the leaders of the KKK. Look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. So now we see the word Shemitic, anti-Semitism now, even though we are a Shemitic people. But look at the manipulation of the system. Now you have the word or civil rights it's being used against us in what's deemed to be the uncivilized Negro, who is making it clear that we are Shemitic people. But that doesn't matter because that's the academic approach of it. But a group of people were able to come up with laws, their own laws. A lot of it is generic, generalized, man. It's filled with ambiguity, to now use the very laws that were put in place supposedly to help our people. Now it's being used to further oppress our people, further silence our people. Think about it. No matter what you come up with, or we come up with the academic perspective about what Shemitic is. But now, multi-race, by way of conversion through a religion, is now being considered a race. Now, a Christian can be considered a race. A Muslim can be considered a race, all by way of conversion. Come on, family. A lot is going on. So, family, I just thought I'd talk to you guys a little bit, give you something to think about. But, family, it's a lot going on. Man, I encourage you to go back and watch the live I did over the weekend. I think it was Friday night. It lasted a little longer than what I wanted, anticipated on it, even though it shows 4.5 hours. Really, it's a 3.5 hour video. But it's a lot of information. I walked you through The beast that's highlighted in Revelation 13 gave clarity of Daniel with Daniel chapter 7, starting at verse 23. And I really gave you clarity on who's who, the strengths, the attribute of that fourth beast. And it says that diverse. Look up what diverse is, and you'll see my point. It said this beast was diverse. Do the etymology dictionary definition of diverse and see what it says. But I'm not going to give you all the answers. But I just want to say, family, we need to wake up. The Bible is real, family. Those prophecies in the scriptures are real, and they are coming true before our eyes. They are manifesting itself before our eyes. There's a reason why there's a calculated attack against our community. Again, in that letter that came down from the people that's over this educational system, it did not list us anywhere. It listed all the different groups that came against our community, that had our community enslaved, but it did not include us. And that tells you what the civil rights movement is all about. Was Harry Belafonte correct when he said Martin Luther King said to him that he may have led our people into a burning building? Maybe is that because he saw the realness of the truth about where it was going at with the civil rights? He was thinking one way, that the civil rights was going to do this for his people, only to see that others was going to use this as an opportunity to further solidify their behaviors, their agendas. Could that be why Martin Luther King shared those words with Harry Belafonte, that he possibly led his own people into a burning building? Is that why? Because he got a whiff of exactly what was going on, the agendas. Family, is something to think about. But I just want to bring this to your attention. I know it's a lot going on. A lot is going on, family. A lot is going on. A lot is going on. And family, it's time for us to wake up. It's really not just wake up, but get out of bed. See, many of our brothers and sisters are waking up, but many still haven't gotten out of bed. Many choose to lay in bed instead of just getting out of bed and putting the work, putting action behind your words. Family, this is why I say we living in a critical time. Living in a critical time. Critical time. Changing times and laws. Times and laws. Changing times and laws. Not just dealing with the Shabbat, but laws. That's the part many of us miss. Laws. Laws, changing laws. And we see the legal system is being used against Yah's own people. Yet, we don't see, we could go to the legal system and see what they said about us. Again, one drop rule. You still considered black. But now, multi-race for other groups that are converted by way of religion, now considered a race. Man, that's a precedence, man. Now they're going to have it where as though you can't say anything about any of these different religions. They're going to make it so that way they're going to censor anyone that's teaching anything against religions. So again, the ADL, he used the Jersey City situation as a means of saying, hey, anti-Semitism attacks are on the rise, and he pointed at our community. Every example he gave was about our community. And so they're using the civil rights laws and things that they are modifying and changing, and all these addendums is targeting our community to further silence our community about those who are waking up to understanding the facts are the facts about who we are. He used the Jersey City situation, and guess what? It was proven even with the the city attorney, the city prosecutor, or whatever, made it clear that the two perpetrators had nothing to do. They were not connected to a camp. They were not connected to any group of people. They were operating independently. And then when they used his other example was about some Jewish people being harassed, shot with BB guns, and it turns out that it wasn't a dark melanated person. It was a Caucasian person. It wasn't a melanated person. That incident had nothing to do with us. So if that's what they're using to base their numbers, to build up their statistics, family, then they're lying. They're coming up with cases that are lies specifically to target our people, and it tells you who they are targeting. They are saying, trying to label a Negro as anti-Semitic. Those guys you see on the camp, they're trying to label them as being anti-Semitic. And when you look at the laws of anti-Semitism, if you say, basically what it's boiling down to, if we say that we are the people of the book, anti-Semitism, even if you use their own sources. So they're packaging this thing up, painting a picture that when you look at the camps, oh, anti-Semitism. If you look at me or others that are coming to the understanding or already knew who they are as far as Israelites, right? Proving it with DNA, proving it with family tradition, proving it with other sources, anti-Semitism. See, they can tell us that we're not, but we can't say that they're not. They can talk about our afflictions, but we can't talk about their afflictions. They can talk about the statistics about our community, but we can't talk about the statistics in their community. We could talk about, we could do damage to ourselves, right? And not get arrested for it. We could use all kinds of slurs, but you say something that's not even a slur, simply asking a question, anti-Semitism. Family, that's where it's going, family. Changing times and laws. Man, they're changing times and laws, pushing it so that way if you're a contractor and when you start understanding the day and time we live in, right, school teachers and even working for a company, in many cases you have to go through a contracting agency before you come on permanent with that company. So now if they go and do your background check and it appears that you are protesting against Israel, then you can be denied that contract. You could be denied that opportunity. You could be denied that position. But yet, according to the anti-Semitic laws, right? You are anti-Semitic if you accuse the Jewish community being all about Israel. Wait a minute. If you're accusing them about being all about Israel, but yet you see the educational system pushing Israel, you see the labor laws pushing Israel, saying that if you protest Israel, then you run a risk that you can't even work. Then you also have people in Congress. The Congresswoman exposed how, they have to sign agreements not to go against Israel. All of these things are in place. But yet, if you talk about it, you're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic if you say that, hey, these people run this people. These people run these groups. These people have a major influence in this area. If you say that, even though it's true, even though their own people have stated these things, but if we say it, anti-Semitism. Come on, family. Changing times and laws. That's Daniel chapter 7, 24 in full effect. Come on, family. Likewise, my sister, I did my DNA. And my DNA comes up, telling me that I'm 94.5% African. How is that possible, family? I'm living in the United States. How is it possible? Sons and daughters of slaves. How is it possible for my DNA to be that high when they say on the average it's like 72, 73%? How is that possible for me to have such a high rate? How is that possible, family? Come on, family. But we can't talk about that. How is it possible that I have Igbo? How is that possible that I have Limba? How is it possible that I have Bambara? How is it possible that I have Yoruba? You know, these tribes that have been confirmed, but yet I'm anti because I speak on it and I say that I'm connected to the original people. That's anti-Semitism. If we're saying that, you don't even have to mention their name, just you saying that you are the original people can still be considered anti-Semitic, because if you're saying you're the real people, then the assumption is you're saying that they're not the real people. And you don't even have to say that. That's still anti-Semitism. Anyway, family, gotta go. We'll resume this a little later. Not tonight. We'll resume this week. Be on the lookout. I'm gonna upload and release the Road to Savannah, Breadcrumbs Part 2, director's cut rather, and I'm going to have some bonus material there. I'm going to launch it on this platform. Want to clean it up to make sure to try to minimize any potential red flags and things from coming by way of YouTube. But I have to get ready to go. But just wanted to take this time out to talk to you, family. We got to wisen up, family. It is real, Israel. Wake up, Israel. Wake up, family. Let's stop bickering with one another. I know many people are even looking at the Cat Williams video, and many are, going way out in left field and with that thing, disrespecting and going at the camps. Oh, the camps, that 12 tribe chart and all this other stuff. Someone even posted saying that they're worse than the prosperity preachers. Man, family, let's stop majoring in the minors. Trust me. It's bigger things to deal with than be arguing about whether or not a video is really Cat Williams or not. And even to say foolishness about the camps of worship and prosperity ministries. Look, I may not support the One West doctrine, but guess what? I will challenge anyone, if anyone want to come on and do a live stating that the camps are worse than prosperity preachers, because last I heard it, last I seen them, they in the corners. Last I heard it, last I seen it, many of the people in the church mock them because they don't, many of them have, the stuff that they wear, the clothing that they wear. They call them hand-me-downs. They call it cheap clothing. They mock the clothing. And I'm not disrespecting the camps, but they call it cheap clothing. But yet you want to talk about somebody that's a prosperity preacher that done hustle people for their life savings, hustle people for their 401k, hustle people for their the monies that's in their banking account, their checking account, who mortgage their whole future for this prosperity preachers that can't get any of that money back. And you want to talk about the camps are worse than these guys? Come on, family, stop it. Stop it. Again, I don't roll with the that One West stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and let people make up lies, blatant lies. Let's stop majoring in the minors, family. We're doing exactly what these people, this system, want us to do. Self-destruct. I'm out. Shalom.